Witness will be Peter M. Iwanowicz, the Executive Director of Environmental Advocates of New York. This will be in person, a novelty these days in the operation of state government. I don't think I've ever been to a hearing where the number of legislators has outnumbered by multiples the totality of the audience. But we appreciate that that you're here. Thank you for being a part of that audience and our third witness. The forum is yours.
Hi. Can you hear me all right?
More or less.
Okay. I don't know if it's on or not. Is that better at all?
Is the red light on?
It's hard to tell. It appears to be on.
If the red light's on, we'll hear you.
Great. Why don't we jump in then? So on behalf of environmental advocates, it's my pleasure to be with you today to present our perspective on climate change expenditures by state entities. And let me just start with this. There should be no denying that we are in a climate crisis, and there is an urgent need for realignment of the state's budget and spending by state entities to match the impacts of climate change. Communities across New York State are being dramatically impacted. People are losing their livelihoods, and some, sadly, are losing their lives. The costs of inaction are real, and they're very big. Last year, the State Department of Environmental Conservation assessed that the damage caused by climate change, for each ton of greenhouse gas emitted, that is, commonly called the social cost of carbon, the DEC assessment found that for each ton of carbon dioxide emitted, more than $120 in damages impact New York State. When you multiply this tonnage by the carbon dioxide emitted in New York each year, the annual damage cost that we pay right now is a staggering $27.5 billion per year. Each year, we all pay these costs. They're not lined out in our energy bills right now. They don't show up as a line item on our insurance bills, or our property taxes, or our rent bills. But for sure, they're there, and we're all paying them as we sit here today. Recently, the council that has been referenced many times today, the Climate Action Council, received an analysis that assessed both the benefits and the costs of acting on climate. I don't know why there's uncertainty here. It was a sobering reminder to me as a member of the council, having been appointed by the Speaker Hastie, of the impacts that climate change is having on our state and the 20 million people that call New York State home. It was also a reminder that the benefits of acting to protect our environment and health always outweigh the costs. History bears this out. So the analysis that was presented to the council showed that the net benefits of acting versus not acting range from a minimum of $80 billion a year, $80 billion over the period, to $150 billion. The higher range of the benefits would be realized if we rapidly moved away from combustion of fuels to full electrification of our energy systems. So the main takeaway for all of you that want to understand the benefits and costs is this. The faster we move to full electrification, the fewer people will get sick, which has a huge cost. The fewer lives we will lose, which has an unquestionably large cost. And the faster we will all reap the economic benefits of moving forward. The analysis also showed that the states need to be spending at least $10 billion annually to ensure that we secure these benefits. These benefits will help consumers cut energy waste. They will help us retrain workers. They will help us really reap the economic benefits of acting. Let me just talk about a couple of key programs before I wrap up my testimony to add a little bit of context about state spending. I trust that you'll agree with me that a significant source of environmental funding in the state budget is $300 million EPF. The spending for the EPF, it provides resources to a host of programs, but it's not nearly enough. You all know this. Furthermore, the climate portion of the Environmental Protection Fund is just 19.1 million, or 6.4% of the total fund. Let me just quickly put the EPF spending in the state budget into some context, climate-wise. New York State spends in the budget to support the combustion of fossil fuels and the oil and gas industry than all the appropriations for the EPF. Legislation has been introduced by Assemblymember Cahill and Senator Krueger to end these subsidies. Their bill pegs the state treasury cost of these subsidies for fossil fuels at $336 million per year. Right away, you remove those subsidies, you plow that into climate change, you got a much bigger program. My testimony gets into more details about the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, but I want to just really talk about the rating that has gone on with the RGGI funds for some years. Just in the last 2 years that the climate law has been in effect, there have been 2 raids to the RGGI fund to support general fund programs. They amounted to $46 million redirected from NYSERDA to critical clean energy programs that shouldn't have been done under the CLCPA. We hope this hearing will result in a commitment to end the RGGI rates. It's not clear from the testimony from NYSERDA that is actually going to be the case. They have it baked into their operating plan for the last 3 years. The timer is not running, so I'll just close, assuming my 5 minutes is really pretty tight or overboard. So let me just remind you all of the amazing power of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act that so many of you supported when it was before the legislature in 2019. It contains an often overlooked but key section. It's Section 7 of the CLCPA. In practical terms, this section requires all decisions of the state must be run through a climate test. It is meant to ensure that we don't dig the climate hole any deeper. Because it covers divisions of the state, this section of law clearly applies to the state division of budget. So now that the CLCPA is law, our state annual spending plan must not be inconsistent with the state's climate goals, and it must also prioritize pollution reductions in disadvantaged communities. To sum up, EANY's position is this. We need to tackle the climate crisis and current levels of state spending. They're inadequate. We call on the executive and you in the legislature to enact a fiscal budget next year that includes at least $15 billion to advance the objectives of the CLCPA. Anything short of this will delay the public health benefits of acting and the economic benefits that we all know that are there for the taking. I thank you for the opportunity to testify and entertain any questions you might have.